All right, what's up, everybody? We can, Charlie, we good to get rocking?
Yep, good to go.
All right, I'll hit you a little bit, speaking to the team today, Tell the Truth Monday. And I think biggest truth, we're not where we want to be yet. And I was honestly proud as hell of the fight we showed in the game yesterday, but I also think there's definitely another gear, and it's a gear that we need to get to. And to finish against the teams we know we're going to have to go battle with, that's what we're grinding for, finding that next gear and leaving the game. I would say, how do I know we're ready to learn that and to get there? I think 6 of the words I heard in the locker room last night, we're effing going to learn from this. And it was strong, and knowing that we have to be ready to not only play hard, but find these moments that we can go take that next step, take that next gear. And that's what I anticipate us doing, and getting back into the work week and into the process of getting ready for this game. So all that said, Charlie, I'll turn it over to you and we can get everything rolling.
Yeah, we'll go John Keim.
Hey, Dan, can you update us on John Allen?
Yeah, so John has a pec tear, and it's a big blow for us, John. John Allen's obviously been the staple player, here in the play style and the attitude. So yeah, we're really bummed for him, as the man ball player, and we'll certainly miss him this season, and he should likely get surgery, in the days ahead.
And then when you lose a guy like that, you drafted Johnny Newton, you have to dare him. How do you replace him? What's the plan there?
Yeah, for sure. It'll be a multitude of people and roles and how we can feature guys to do that, because John's rare and he's got unique skills and talent. So it's not just plug and play. And the good news, we got big, deep crew, and we'll feature all of them a little bit differently in finding the ways that we can do that. But yeah, we'll certainly miss John and the strength and the attitude that he brings inside.
Thank you.
Nikki.
Sorry, Dorrance Armstrong, do you also have an update on where things stand with
Yes,
his
sorry, I could give you some feedback. He had like a rib or oblique injury, and so they're doing some more imaging on that today. And Javante Baptiste also has an ankle injury that we'll hopefully get some more information on that. The x-rays were negative, but certainly dealing with the type of sprains and things to go. So we'll take a good look at it, Nikki. But both of them weren't able to finish yesterday, and as they're going to go through the images and stuff tonight and tomorrow, we'll have a better sense for where they are in the days ahead. But definitely was a hard afternoon on the D line on some injuries, and that was hard.
Yep. And with all those, do you anticipate bringing in some outside help to try to help fill the void there on all 3 guys, really?
Yeah, and we have we're fortunate that FA coming back certainly was one to come back off of IR, and some other guys that are here within the program. So it'll be something that Adam and his staff and I will visit with about. But there's also guys here, for this purpose. And when those moments happen, are you ready to deliver? And the team, the example I use most, honestly, Nikki, with the team is Jeremy McNichol, and his ability to step in and go. I think if there was a person that said, this is how you stay ready and your moment comes, you nail it, he's the one on our team right now that comes to mind first.
Ben.
Hey, Dan, to talk a little bit about the secondary, you guys have used Mikey Sanderstill more on the outside of late, probably just because that's just what you guys need to do for now. But you brought him in to envision him as a slot corner. Do you ultimately still see him at the slot, regardless of how you're using him now?
Yes, I think that is probably where Mikey can make the most impactful plays, get a hand on the football. But honestly, when you're a good football player, there's a lot of roles, that you can fulfill and do that. But yeah, Ben, that's still the vision. But sometimes that changes, as you're going through it and you're just finding the best matchups. And I thought outside, this was probably one of Mike's best games. He's done that for, 2 or 3 games now. And so to do that, I thought there were some good signs for him outside.
And so sort of to that end, one guy that is an outside corner is Emmanuel Forbes. You guys haven't used him much really the last 2 games, inactive this week. What at this point is holding Forbes back from getting on the field in a significant way defensively?
Yeah, and we'll look for that again this week. And really, honestly, we just wanted to add another defensive lineman up last week. Baltimore, I believe, had used the fewest, 3 wide receiver sets leading into the game. So going in, we thought, man, we just need as much, line of scrimmage help as we could. So we dressed an extra defensive lineman. So it wasn't performance related in that space. And as we get into next week, we certainly expect E-Man to, back into the space and going for it in that way.
Just as a quick follow-up, does the fact that he's limited on special teams or maybe not viewed as somebody can help, does that affect his status when it comes to active and inactive in certain situations?
No, I think like it applies for everybody. You're right in terms of the special teams and all hands on deck. But ultimately, like, the spot for him is outside at corner first. And we got a big, deep crew on the special team side. So it really just came down, honestly, Ben, to they just had a, bigger package of heavier sets of, tight ends, fullbacks. And so that was the only decision, regarding that.
Sam.
What were those top line coaching tips for you after you watched the film and said,
Hey, do you mind starting that one over? I got jammed up at the start.
all good. What were the top 1, 2, 3 coaching points that you had coming out of watching the film from today's game to get where you guys need to go?
Yeah. What was that for us to get to that space? Yeah. Awesome. Well, I thought, let's start, things that I liked first. I love the on-field position. We thought that was going to be one of the battles going into it to say, could Tress and the guys have some chances to change field position? They did. And I thought we also did a good job, with the ball. And so those two things were part of the keys. The things that we thought, really needed to change, third down on both sides wasn't, what we hoped we'd need to accomplish. The time of possession really got out of whack. And I think a lot of that had to do with some of the third downs and, quite honestly, some penalties on third downs where some drives were extended. I believe they were maybe 6 of 10, but I imagine there was at least 2 or 3 more on a penalty of 2 PIs. I believe they were either on third or fourth down. And then on the offensive side, not creating enough and generating enough first down. So those would be, one of the big takeaways of going into it to say, hey, in these moments, can we go get it? And so the third down was one of the big takeaways for us in this game, both sides of the ball.
And kind of more specifically, after you score that touchdown in the fourth quarter to go down 8, did you consider at all going for 2 there?
We didn't. We thought as we were into that space, we were still going to it. We knew when we were down 2 scores at the end that we were going to need to score quickly at the end, knowing that we use the timeouts and get them before the 2-minute and then get a chance to go. So as lopsided as it felt, I think that was the frustrating, challenging part. Get the field goal, go get a couple stops and make them punt and go take our shot at it. I think that is the one that, leaves us yesterday saying that's the gear we need to get to when it comes time to crunch time to go get this stop in this moment, even when it hasn't gone well. That's the one that, you're leaving the field, wishing for more there.
Barry.
And you're coming off a loss, but if you look at the standings, Washington is atop the NFC East. I wonder if you consider that a realistic goal to win the division, and if it even early in the season is something you put out to guys as a carrot at all.
Yeah, you want to put it out, not now, but at the beginning, and knowing that this is a tough division, but that's always comes first in terms of how you want to play in terms of the division. So I believe we only had 1 so far, division game. So as you go and you get into those games, that's when you get to really talk about the matchups and why they carry so much weight. So honestly, we don't really talk much about expectations, and then we don't put a lot of stress on that. What we do put a lot of stress on is how much better we can get. And it's just, can you get better? Can your unit get better? Can we do that again this week and going through the process for that? So we don't try to get jammed up on expectations or things are down the line or any of that. We just try to dig right into this week and say, this is, we're based on improvement. It's like a lifestyle we live here, man. Like, can you get better? Can you dig in further? Can you get to that spot? And so that's kind of the stressor that we go, not on outside expectations. I recognize the question about the division because it is really important to talk about that, but you don't really talk about those until you talk about the division games when you're playing in them.
Sure. So just internally then, I wonder if that goal, that big picture goal, feels any more realistic after 6 games than it did before you had played a game and you didn't really know how your team would respond to stuff?
I think we're probably also talking a little bit about like what we want our identity to be. And we faced a team yesterday that's had an identity that's been entrenched for a while. And we probably recognize, the biggest truth, we're not where we want to be yet from that. And so before you can do a lot more, you got to get that part under. And you need fights like yesterday, man. I'd love to tell you it came in good when you're being able to pull some guys in the fourth quarter, but like you need to be in these hard matches that suck and you're pissed at the end because you didn't make the play that you needed to make. But that's what an identity is all about. They're not formed like when you're rolling, they're formed in these tough, close games. And we're going to be a lot of close games this season. And I want us to feel like, hey man, we're down for that fight. And when it gets close, like that's where we're in our element. And we got to be in those ones. And we took an L yesterday in a close environment, and we got to learn from it.
Thank you.
David Aldridge.
Hey, Dan, what have you seen in terms of Fedarian's development over his first 6 games, in terms of him maybe having to step up and take a little bit bigger role now?
Yeah, I really felt that I can feel his length and the strength, especially when he's at the nose tackle. That's where I feel like his best stuff is, the combination blocks. And so sometimes some of his best plays have been when he's taken 2 and it allows Luvu or Wagner to go. So it may not show up on the stat sheet, but it does show up in the meeting room. And so that's what I love when he plays square and strong and it can get guys locked out. Those are the moments, David, that I see him. I saw it yesterday. There's a power play and Derrick Henry running right in the A gap, squared, knocked the center back, holding him back, made a tackle. Like those seem like simple plays, but they're not easy.
The other question was about Austin. You had some uncertainty at that position when you brought him in. What has his consistency allowed you to do in terms of deciding go, no go, and different things that you have to decide based on the kicking game?
Yeah, it was it's a big deal. And you're right, because you've had a front row seat at some of the turbulence that we've had into that space. And so yesterday we had missed the one at the end of the half, but no one coming back out. We gave him a chance that I think it might have been a career long going, in that direction. And so we wanted to say, man, like we have belief in you and go hit it like you have, because he's really done an excellent job here in practice of being detailed and on it. So I wanted him to know that there was no less belief on a long kick than there would be on the next one. And so it was as much belief as it was this the right call to make into this space. But I also wanted, it might have been a little bit of a stretch further than we had allotted to, but I thought this is the right time to push someone and to tell them there's belief there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Scott.
Hi, Dan. After week 1, everybody was talking about Jaden and can't run so much. Let's see him develop as a passer. And from week 1 to where we are today, the improvements and the growth have been very visible in terms of him being a passing quarterback in this league. What's impressed you so much about his growth as Jaden Daniels, the passer?
This would sound unusual, but there were a couple of plays that took place in the 2-minute yesterday, I think both before the half and maybe even one at the end of the game, throwaways. And this was, an instance where there wasn't much time left at the end of the half. There was a one outside to Austin where it wouldn't have made much of a play, Scott. And so in that instance, the better play, it's incomplete to go fight for another one. We still had a timeout that we could use. So the football intelligence that he brings into the position is really strong. I think all of us felt that early with him, but I love the fact that when he's in these spaces, the 2 minutes at the end of the half, and then it wasn't quite 2 minutes at the end of the game, but we had to go score and get down the field to go, of like the decision making there. He did a really good job of, taking care of the ball, the right decisions, where's the location. I thought some of the best rips of his season actually happened yesterday, and some tight windows throws. The touchdown to Terry in the corner of the end zone on a 4th down play was just fantastic. So I thought moments like that, were ones that I said, okay, like he's really dialed in and he's thinking about the ball and thinking about decision making, and like that's not just throwing it well, like that's playing quarterback well.
expanding on Barry's question a little bit from earlier, kind of the psychology of sport here, where to a man inside that locker room after the game, basically every player I talked to said, we need that type of game to get where we need to get to. Can you kind of explain that psyche, that mental aspect of going through the fire, going through the adversity to make you better down the road?
Yeah, we knew this was going to be a really good opponent. Like that was no big secret. And so to have a, tough environment, good crowd, the whole thing, battling for it, testing you and pushing you in certain ways. In a couple of instances, they were the top in the NFL in their respective areas, run defense and running the ball. So being tested, pushed in those spaces, that was, the test that we definitely needed. It also shows we're not there yet. And but it also at the same time says, like, that's what we are about, is the work to get better and digging in, Scott. So like I said, when I was saying it very earlier, the expectations which are down the road, we don't really get stressed about that. Like we just say, how does this team get better? How do we do things better? How do we improve? And I think if we just stay in that pocket, we will improve. And that's kind of what we're looking forward to showing to everybody this weekend.
David Harrison.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. 2 weeks in a row now, your offense is Jaden has faced rather 40% pressure rates or higher, hadn't hit 40% the rest of the season before that. What do you attribute that increase in pressure rates to?
You're saying we hadn't hit that before?
Right, hadn't hit
midseason.
40% pressure rates on Jaden before Cleveland, and now Cleveland and Baltimore back-to-back weeks.
Okay. Well, I would say I'm not surprised by Baltimore. I would have thought Tampa would have been up there because I thought they had a higher pressure route, but maybe they didn't. I knew Cleveland would play a lot of man-to-man, and that was one of the emphasis during the week to go, hey, we play more man-to-man, beating man-to-man. That would be a big deal for us. In this instance, I thought Baltimore had a good complement of both. They had a pressure package, good run defense to go. But I think it's kind of by game, Dave. I think that might be more coincidental than not, if that's what the numbers showed. We haven't dug into Carolina yet in terms of how much they pressure and how much they don't. But at the end of it, I do like that we have a big, deep playbook, and, however teams want to get down, like we're ready for that. We like to tempo some, and that can help on that side of things as well.
Yeah, and to that point, Coach, Jaden Daniels, like the two games you guys have played so far that had the most national attention, obviously this weekend, but then Monday night against Cincinnati Bengals just happened to be Jaden's best passer rating so far of the season. What does that type kind of data tell you about your quarterback?
Well, I think in the biggest lights, it shows that he really stayed grounded, prepared, doing all the stuff to go. And it's really one of the teammates. It's really one of the reasons his teammates and staff think so highly of him, is they know the work that he goes to put in. Leaving yesterday, you could tell as the competitor, he and his teammates, were pissed, and had nothing to do with, how do I say it? It had everything to do with Baltimore, but nothing to do with Baltimore, meaning we really, didn't, have our best spaces in sometimes. And like, it hurts, but they are things you have to go through and learn. But some of Jaden's best throws did happen yesterday on some tight window throws to Noah, to Terry, and on the sideline. Like those were some really big time throws. And he kind of just shows those on a regular basis, where it's being normal for us because we get to see it on the regular, but they're not easy.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, we're getting tight on time. Let's go Candy and then Donna.
Hey there, Coach. Good afternoon. On the pass interference calls on Benjamin St-Juste, what did you see happen there? And is this something that you can kind of help educate Benjamin on, or how does that just kind of go from a team perspective as well?
I think so. And I think maybe on one where if you grab a hip, an official could see that. I think that's what we saw on the one that was on the blitz. And then the one on the sideline, I don't have a lot of information on yet from the views I had. I thought he was in pretty good position, and seemed like the player was going to the ground. And sometimes, Candy, just going down and falling can seem like a foul. But I don't have a good explanation on the second one. But on the first one, I think just when you spin and grab from a hip to spin, that sometimes is the thing that can get flagged and what the official could see.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Candy.
Hi,
Hi,
Donna.
Coach.
Hey, Donna.
You talked a little bit earlier about the next gears that you want to see. What are some of those next gears that you want to see on both the offense and the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, we love when our line of scrimmage stuff is really hitting the marks, and that's the run game. And we felt like even though Baltimore, is an excellent running team, that we still left some work out there for us that we need to make sure that's always part of our combination, the runs and the play passes. We love when the completions and the runs are over 55 in a game, and in this game it happened to be in the 40s. On the defensive side, again, on the line of scrimmage, where down the field, we want to make sure the rush and the coverage are really working together, Donna. So that's the gear where we have to consistently find it to say, if we're going to play some man-to-man, then we also have to do a hell of a job of rushing and working in concert together. So I love when I see our teams blending together and having this complementary side. When it's too much of one or the other, that's when we're not at our best. So that would be one of the gears for us. And then I love how we're taking care of the ball. I'd like to see us more creating some opportunities for more reps for our offense. So thought we got one with Mikey. I thought we had another chance on their second drive on a fumble that was on the ground that we didn't come up with, that was in their side of the field. So those would be a couple of the gears that I'm talking about: the ball and our line of scrimmage, making sure we're all in concert together.
And the other thing, when Jay Flowers was open in the middle, when he was getting those completions, what did you see that should have happened right there from the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, and some of them were just in, honestly, a tough spot, Donna. You have to be vulnerable if you're going to load up on the run and basically isolate things outside. So that's part of, doing business when you're going to load the box against Derrick Henry and Lamar and others. So finding that balance and being able to stop, the run with a lighter box, it's a challenge against Baltimore. And you have to pick your poison, so to speak, to know when to go take your shot. And so, that going into it, let's say, okay, when do we want to go take our shots and when don't we? So we don't put guys in a tough spot all the time. And that's the big challenge when you face them.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. You guys have a good one. We'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you.